Let's begin with our top story coming out of Iran, where 35 people have been killed and 48 wounded in a stampede at the funeral procession of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. Emergency officials say the wounded have been transferred to hospital. Millions of mourners thronged the streets in Iran's southeastern city of Kerman to attend burial rituals for Soleimani. Well, Iran has designated U.S. forces as terrorists after the killing of its military leader, Qasem Soleimani. The Iranian parliament passed that bill after Soleimani was killed in a U.S. drone strike on Friday. Under the new act, any military, intelligence, and financial aid to U.S. forces would be regarded as cooperation in a terrorist act. Iran's Revolutionary Guard chief Hossein Salami has threatened to set ablaze places supported by the United States. The Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Shamkhani, said Iran is considering 13 revenge scenarios in response to the U.S. strike. Iran also says the EU's stance on the killing of Major General Qasem Soleimani is a result of the bloc's misunderstanding of the Middle East. Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif said Europe is making a grave strategic mistake. Zarif called UK Foreign Minister Dominic Raab and Germany's Heiko Maas after an EU3 statement accused Tehran of foreign military interventions. The Iranian foreign minister said the US is responsible for tensions in the region. Zarif said General Soleimani's assassination has fueled global anti-US fury and worldwide rancor. Later speaking in Tehran, the foreign minister also said the U.S. has declined him a visa to attend a UN Security Council meeting in New York later this week. Zarif said his visa was declined because Washington fears that he will come to the U.S. and reveal the reality of the situation. Malaysia has said the killing of the leading Iranian commander has called for the Muslim world to unite against foreign threats. Speaking to media in Kuala Lumpur, Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad said Qasem Soleimani's killing by the U.S. violates international laws. He said Muslims are not safe because any country can strike another with a drone if it does not like what is said. The Prime Minister said he speaks the truth and thinks he has the right to speak out on any issue. Earlier, demonstrators held an anti-U.S. protest outside the Iranian embassy in Kuala Lumpur. Well, the U.S. has said it has no plans to withdraw troops from Iraq after a letter from a U.S. general suggested a pullout. Speaking to reporters, U.S. Defense Secretary Mark Esper said Washington is still committed to countering ISIS in Iraq. Speaking to President Donald Trump's threat to target Iran's cultural sites, Esper said the U.S. will not violate the laws of armed conflict. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, called his letter referring to the removal of troops from Iraq a mistake. Earlier, Iraqi Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi had said Baghdad and Washington should work together on a withdrawal. Now, European countries are shrinking their presence in Iraq. It is a response to heightened tensions after the U.S. assassination of the Iranian Major General Qasem Soleimani. Germany has decided to move some of its troops from Iraq to Jordan and Kuwait over security concerns. Berlin told its parliament the troop reduction was ordered by the U.S. Joint Forces for Fighting ISIS. The UK has reduced the number of staff at its embassies in Tehran and Baghdad. Britain's Foreign and Commonwealth Office said the safety and security of its staff is of paramount importance. Last week, NATO suspended training of Iraqi forces because of growing instability in the country. In other news, in Libya, Khalifa Haftar's forces have claimed they've taken control of the strategic coastal city of Sirte in an operation that lasted just hours. Haftar has been waging a military offensive on the capital city Tripoli since last April. His Libyan National Army said they took over surrounding Sirte, including Al-Qardabiya Air Base, before moving towards the city center.
The High Command for the Libyan National Army officially announces the liberation and the purification of the city of Sirte from terrorism and from criminals. We have always thought of the city of Sirte, which is dear to our hearts. We have always laid military plans for it, but have always postponed these plans so that Sirte would not fall prey to the clashes.
Well, Sirte lies in the center of Libya's Mediterranean coast and had been controlled by the UN-recognized government of Libya. Let's move on now to Nigeria, where 30 people have been killed by a bomb blast at a crowded market on Al-Baid Bridge along the border with Cameroon. Witnesses say people jumped into the river to save their lives. Army officials say 35 others were injured in the attack. Both Boko Haram and the regional branch of ISIS, known as ISWAP, are active in the area. However, no group has claimed responsibility. The violence has spread to neighboring Niger, Chad, and Cameroon, prompting a regional military coalition to fight the militants. Israel has approved the construction of nearly 2,000 new illegal residences in occupied Palestinian territories. The Illegal Settlement Monitor, Peace Now, said 786 housing units have received the final endorsement. It said 1,150 units were approved for deposit or phase 1 of their planning. The group said 89% of the new homes would be erected in settlements that Israel may have to evacuate under a future peace agreement with Palestinians. Peace Now says settlement building has vastly increased under Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his ally, U.S. President Donald Trump. Indian forces have martyred another youth in occupied Kashmir's Pulwama district. Occupying forces martyred the civilian during a cordon and search operation in Charsu, Awanzipora area of the district. Witnesses say the occupying Indian forces launched the operation earlier today. Earlier on January the 2nd, Indian troops killed 3 Kashmiri youth in the Rajouri district of the valley. The occupied valley is reeling under Indian clampdown for the last 156 days. Journalists in Indian-occupied Kashmir are demanding an end to the 156-day-long cyber curfew in the valley. The valley's media fraternity forwarded this demand in an interactive session in the capital, Srinagar. During the session, journalists, editors, and photojournalists shared their experiences of working without the internet. They said journalists in the occupied valley are forced to work without the internet, even in the 21st century. On August the 5th last year, India imposed a total communications blackout in the valley after revoking its special status. In India itself, police have registered a case against students attacked in Jawaharlal National University instead of those who assaulted them. On Sunday, a group linked with the ruling BJP stormed into the university, attacked students, and vandalized the institution. In the FIR, the university administration has nominated Union President Aisha Ghosh and 19 others for alleged vandalism. Meanwhile, a massive protest was held at the Gateway of India and was later forcibly shifted to Azad Maidan. Police manhandled and dragged demonstrators from the gateway to clear the area. Students also held protests in Kolkata, Chennai, New Delhi, Hyderabad, and Pune against the incident. Pakistan's National Assembly has passed 3 bills formalizing the tenure of the 3 services chiefs. 3 bills are Pakistan Army Amendment Bill 2020, Pakistan Air Force Amendment Bill 2020, and Pakistan Navy Amendment Bill 2020. The Federal Defense Minister, Pervez Khattak, presented the bill in Parliament. As voting begins, lawmakers pass the bills clause by clause. The legislation sailed through the House almost unanimously, with all major parties lending complete support for the bills. Pakistan has also passed a bill to exchange information and criminals with countries to counter terror financing. The bill was passed by 87 to 83 votes after 4 amendments proposed by the opposition. The government says the main purpose of this law is to nominate the Interior Ministry as the focal point for such cases. Elsewhere, South Korea has renewed its call for an interKorean summit in Seoul, which was promised by Pyongyang. Speaking in Seoul, President Moon Jae-in said there is a desperate need for practical ways to improve cooperation between North and South Korea. The president said dialogue between North Korea and the U.S. should go on. Moon also criticized recent tests by the North, saying threats and displays of military power are not helpful. He invited North Korean athletes to join 2 sporting events set to take place this year. The Spanish parliament, meanwhile, will vote today to confirm Socialist leader Pedro Sanchez as prime minister. Sanchez requires a simple majority in the second runoff to remain prime minister. Sanchez lost the first confidence vote in Cortes on Sunday. He has stayed on as a caretaker premier since inconclusive elections last year. He is now looking for another term by forming a minority coalition government with the hard-left Podemos. The Sanchez-led Socialist struck a deal last week with the Catalan separatist party ERC to form a coalition. In this segment of the Bulletin, in Peru, where 16 people have been killed after a bus plowed into parked cars in the southern Arequipa region. Police said 42 others were injured in the collision. The bus was traveling from the capital Lima to Arequipa. The Transportation Supervisory Agency said the bus was traveling 106 kilometers per hour in an area where the speed limit is 90 kilometers per hour. The bus company has acknowledged the high speed and said it would investigate the cause. The Australian Fire Service has warned that bushfires that have wrecked the country's southeast are still very dangerous and difficult to contain. The Rural Fire Service said they are working with the traffic and meteorological departments to contain the fire. Police say 183 people have been arrested for deliberately lighting fires in New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has offered help to Australia to fight the blaze. Officials say 48 U.S. fighters are scheduled to arrive in Australia on Wednesday. The ongoing bushfires have killed 25 people and millions of animals. Almost 2,000 homes and 6 million hectares of land have been destroyed. Well, in Australia's southeast coast, while conditions have improved slightly over the weekend, the wildfires burnt over 8.6 million hectares of land. The region is still choking on thick smoke, and an evacuation is underway. An economy that depends on tourism is expected to suffer.
Dead birds and burnt leaves lay scattered across the sands of the once picturesque fishing village of Eden in New South Wales. Businesses usually boom at this time of the year, with tourists flocking to the beaches in the summer season. This year, the wildfires have significantly cut the number of sunseekers in the area. Residents are wondering how they will make it through the rest of the year. News agency owner Lynn Baxter, 55, spent all her life in Eden and owned her business for 12 years.
Down 85 to 90% at the moment due to what's happened around the area. Yep. The tourists have had to leave. They evacuated the tourists. That was our income.
She's not the only one who has suffered. Antique shop owner Eric Wolski has experienced a slump in sales.
Well, compared to last year, this time, business obviously is down. We've had 2 cruise ships cancelled just in the period between New Year's Eve and today.
Wolski believes not all hope is lost, but all he can do now is wait for the visitors to return.
In China, the annual International Ice and Snow Festival has kicked off in the northernmost Heilongjiang province near Siberia. Visitors from around the globe have flocked to the city for these spectacular ice sculptures and snow weddings. More now about the Ice Festival and other winter events in this report.
Harbin in Heilongjiang is one of China's coldest cities, where temperatures can drop as low as 35 below zero. Braving the severe cold, the city is opening its 36th Snow Festival, featuring amazing fireworks and around 400 fun activities. The festival is a major contributor to the region's booming tourism industry.
Yeah, we really like it. Yeah, it's magnificent. The structures, yeah, the carvings, really good. We've only just arrived, but my family are all on their bikes and we've just slid down our first ice slide, which was fun. Started on the small one behind me first, didn't want to go too brave.
In northwest Shanxi province, people are preparing for the upcoming Spring Festival. In the city of Xi'an, a light show has been lighting up the night sky, along with a cultural show adding to the festive atmosphere.
I think the scene was really magnificent, really brilliant. It shows the antique style and beauty of the Sichuan area.
The Spring Festival is the time when families across the country unite to welcome the new year, falling on January 25th this year.
The annual and vibrant Blacks and Whites Carnival has taken place in the southwestern Colombian city of Pasto. The event has its origins in a mix of Andean, Amazonian, and Pacific cultural expressions.
Black and white by name, but not by nature, Colombia's Black and Whites Carnival is a riot of color with musicians, dancers, and colorful floats filling the streets.
It's a joy to bring joy to people, to not just be part of the parade, but also part of the music and making people dance. One feels happy, content, to be Ronanense and to mix with all the residents here, with tourists, and to make them happy is an immense joy.
On the Day of the Whites, artists put together a 6-hour parade featuring colorful outfits. On the Day of the Blacks, participants will paint their faces black to commemorate the liberation of slaves. Elaborate headgear and bright eye makeup is a must.
The cultural expressions of the artisans, that is the best here. Narino is a very beautiful place to visit. We are from Broyeca, and this is all spectacular. I just can't imagine all the creativity. How do they have so much talent?
Since 2009, the carnival has been on UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity list. With thousands of people taking part, it is the largest in the region.
In the United States, the South Korean automaker Hyundai has unveiled its first flying car concept at a technology fair in Las Vegas. The carmaker is the first to launch its vision for electric flying cars meant to ease urban congestion. More now about those cars in this report.
A flying car called the SA-1, presented at the Las Vegas Consumer Electronics Show, is an innovative leap for Hyundai. The new car, with a seating capacity for 5 people, including the pilot, is designed to fly up to 60 miles with a cruising speed of up to 180 miles per hour. In a video presented at the tech fair, the South Korean company showed off a kind of helipad. When it lands, the flying car connects with autonomous vehicles.
We can reduce travel time drastically by averting ground traffic congestion. I would like to call this new era an era of liberation from gridlock and the democratization of flight.
The business is a new partnership with Uber to develop air taxis. Hyundai will produce and deploy the flying cars, and Uber will provide airspace support services and customer interfaces.
We're not an aircraft manufacturing company, and we have no intention of becoming one. Our ecosystem model is based on collaboration with best-in-class companies like Hyundai, who will ultimately manufacture the safe, reliable, high-quality Uber air taxis that we'll deploy on our platform.
While technology firms are in a race to develop flying cars to overcome urban congestion, even so, significant technological and regulatory obstacles still remain to be addressed.
SpaceX has launched its third batch of 60 StarLink satellites as part of its 2020 plan to get 1,500 satellites into space. It successfully launched its Falcon 9 first-stage rocket on the drone ship stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. In May, SpaceX launched the first batch of 60 operational satellites into low Earth orbit. It plans a so-called StarLink constellation, a network of up to 30,000 satellites in low Earth orbit to beam broadband internet globally.
Second engines of 8, Falcon 9 first stage landing.
European stock markets have rebounded, breaking a two-day losing streak. Investors are driving a fresh rally, halting panic sell-off. Frankfurt's DAX and CAC 40 in Paris are trading 0.75% higher. London's FTSE 100 has gained marginally as Rolls-Royce stocks rose about over 0.5%. In Asia, Nikkei 225 led the gains, closing over 1.5% higher. Seoul's Kospi and Shanghai Composite also gained ground. Time now to find out what the weather is like around the world. And with that, you're all caught up. Thank you for watching this bulletin here at Indus.